Embark on a career journey that transcends boundaries and impacts communities. Join the state of Nebraska, where innovation meets purpose and your contributions shape the future. As a valued member of our team, discover a broad range of opportunities spanning from public service to cutting-edge technology. Be a part of something bigger, where your skills make a difference, your growth is fostered, and your commitment to excellence is celebrated. With hundreds of positions waiting to be filled, Nebraska State Government opens doors to fulfilling careers. Explore these opportunities at statejobs.nebraska.gov. Click on the Find a State Job link and take the first step towards your next great career in the Cornhusker State. This is the Good Life, Great Careers podcast, your gateway to a world of career opportunities within Nebraska State Government. In each episode, we present a different state public servant as our honored guest, offering them a platform to share their unique journey in public service. Join us as they provide valuable insights, offer tips, and perhaps unveil exciting opportunities within their state agency.
Welcome to the Good Life, Great Careers podcast. My name is Brian Svick, and I'm the Director of Workforce Training and Development for the state of Nebraska. I'm joined once again by my co-host, Caitlin Betts, who is the Director of Talent Acquisition for the state of Nebraska. This is our 19th episode. Today we are joined by Sergeant Kayla Kildare from the Nebraska State Patrol. Sergeant Kildare has been with the State Patrol for 8 years.
Correct.
Okay. She currently supervises 5 state troopers. She serves as the domestic violence specialist for Troop B in Norfolk. She is also on the crisis negotiation team, and in addition, she also works to help recruit new troopers to the area. Sergeant Kildare, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy day, also for your service to the great state of Nebraska and the citizens thereof.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I'd like to start with just a couple questions. One, if you could just share with our listeners a little bit about yourself so they can get to know you. And then second, if you could share a little bit about your career journey that brought you to where you are now as a sergeant within the State Patrol.
Okay. So I was born and raised in Columbus, Nebraska. I had graduated and started taking some part-time college classes there in the community college in Columbus. I felt like I didn't really know where I wanted my career field to go. I had some ideas what I liked, but I just, I didn't have any true calling per se. So I was working at the factory there in Columbus, was making pretty good money, taking some classes, and my brother saw on the Facebook page for the NSP that they were hiring. And he was like, hey, you'd always talked about law enforcement. I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool. But, surely you have to have this degree for law enforcement and you have to have a background in it or all this other stuff. I was under this notion that I needed. And he was like, no, according to this, you totally make it. I'm like, really? So I ended up looking more into the Facebook ad and I was like, holy smokes, that basically a high moral standard, have to have my GED, citizenship, could pass the background check, no felonies, misdemeanors, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, shoot, maybe I do need to try this. So he encouraged me a little bit more, and I ended up applying for the State Patrol. And 6 months later, I was running laps at the training academy, kind of cursing my brother a little bit because I'm not much of an exercise person, but I don't like running. That's not my thing. But it was definitely good. It was a great career move for me, going from a factory with no windows and. Yep. Just felt like I was going through the days and the motions and whatnot to an exciting career where, each day is so different one day to the next. And that's what I needed in my job. So it was definitely a good move and I never want to look back.
You mentioned besides the running at the training academy, a pretty big shift in the type of career change. What was that like for you? I mean, how did you feel about starting the academy?
I was extremely nervous. Coming up the couple days before I left, I remember I was secluding myself in the house. I was extremely, extremely nervous. You don't know what to expect. You can watch a little bit, we have a YouTube page where we have some videos showing, like day one of the academy and you're getting yelled at and they're working out and all this. So, of course, you just have all those butterflies and it's like, what is this going to be? The first couple weeks are really tough. It's a complete 180 from what people are generally used to. There's a lot of high stress, high physicality, but you start to realize that like each day it's getting a little easier. And it's not so much that the camp's getting easier, it's that you're getting used to it and you're getting acclimated to it. So you're overcoming those obstacles. So you really get that sense of achievement as you're going through it. And that was cool for me. That was cool as a camp. You come together as this huge team where, there was, I want to say we started 23 of us. And you get people from all different walks of life. We had prior military. We had people that have never been in the military. Okay. You have people from all over, essentially the U.S. even. And just trying to pull those people together as a team. And that is the biggest part of the academy is that team-oriented. And figuring that out and bringing that group together is a huge sense of accomplishment right there.
And how long is it, the academy then?
It's 24 weeks. There is some strategic vacation weeks in there. Like I think they usually 2 or 3 vacation weeks.
Okay.
So it's not straight through, but it is a long haul for sure. You have to be full commit to it.
Yeah. So you go through the academy, you graduate, and then what are the next steps? Do new troopers get to request where they get to go? I'm assuming they probably are kind of told where they go, but like
we've gone back and forth over the past couple years. Way back when it was, they gave you the map and you went the exact opposite where you were. So if you were from Omaha, you're going out to the Panhandle. If you're from Omaha, you're going out to the Panhandle. Since then, we've realized that that's not quite the right way to do things either. Okay. And like my camp, they basically gave us the list and said, these are the duty stations available. And if you guys can work it out, then great. If you can't, we'll decide for you.
Okay.
So there was many a nights arguing with the camp of who's going where. And for the most part, I think there might have been 1 or 2 holds out, but everything else we'd already figured out. And then we turned around and we went to a couple camps where everyone knew where they were going before they even went to camp. And that was awesome for them because they knew. Like, you're not sitting there through camp like, oh my gosh, I hope they don't send me to Sydney, or I hope they don't send me to Lincoln, wherever you don't want to go.
Right.
And that relieved a lot of stress for that camp. But then we ended up, obviously, we need to fill spots throughout the state. So we had to kind of go back and shift back to this. We'll put people where we need them. We do have what they call like a hardship waiver right now. So if you have a good reason to go back to where you need to go back to or go to where you need to go to, we'll try and accommodate that. We can't guarantee it, obviously, but our administration right now is working pretty hard to get people where they want to go.
Okay.
Are there certain areas of the state that have more vacancies than others? Or does it just vary?
We're hurting a little bit more out west. Not terribly. So obviously there's a higher population in Omaha and Lincoln, so we're easier to pull from that. We do get the people that obviously are from out west want to go out west, but we're, last I knew, around 70 short across the state, which is a huge amount. I think they're forecasting us to be over 80 troopers short by the end of the year, which is like a quarter of our workforce. Wow. So we're definitely doing a lot more with less, which technology comes into play huge with that. But we need to get into this recruiting. We need to find these intrinsically motivated individuals that want to come out and, they have that service heart that they want to go and help people. And that's what we're looking for.
So then when a new trooper gets their assignment or where they go, what support is there for new troopers when they are now out of the academy or on the job? I imagine that's probably a little bit scary initially.
Yes. So obviously there's some steps here. You get out of the academy, you have a pretty good base knowledge of what you can and cannot do, where you're going with things. But we don't just kick you out on the road with a gun and a badge and a car and say, go out and conquer. So we actually stick people in a car with another trooper for basically It's like 5 months.
Okay.
It's what we call field training process or field training officer, so FTO period. And that FTO, that field trainer, is with them for that 5 months in some capacity or another, really getting them, the boots on the ground, giving them that firsthand experience so they can understand what they're seeing. Because there's a lot where you know it in the academy, right?
Right.
But until you like really truly see it, you don't know it. So it's just getting them that experience.
Okay. So shifting a little bit back to you. So what's a day in the life for you look like?
Oh, man. As troopers, we have so much freedom. Obviously, there's a job that needs to get done. We get these calls for service from dispatch. But an average day, there really isn't one. Today, I had a couple hours to kill before I even came here. And I went to my office thinking, okay, I'm going to get some paperwork done. Obviously, supervising troops, I need to make sure that they're all squared away before I can do too much of my own fun. And then I had an investigator call me, and he was doing cell phone pings. And he's like, hey, I need you to go look for evidence in this location. And it's like a random ditch by Columbus. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go walk through this ditch. So you just never really know.
Prior to this, I went to the State Patrol's website, and you fall into a YouTube hole sometimes. I kind of fell into that on the website.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the
it's
videos
easy
that
to
are out
do.
there. I'm like,
there's some good videos.
Like the drone operation. I knew there was a helicopter, but there's bomb squad. Like, I don't know if you could talk to any of that, or just the variety of even those aspects of what the patrol does. I think there's so much more the patrol does that the public probably isn't aware.
Correct. This is a huge part that we've been running into on the recruiting side is people just assume that we're out chasing taillights. I've literally had people call me before and be like, well, you guys just chase taillights, right? And I'm like, no, not at all. Like, there's so much we can do within the patrol. Like you said, we have the air wing where we have the helicopters, the fixed wings. We got guys that go into that. And the crazy thing with air wing is you don't even have to be a pilot to join that division. We'll train you. We'll pay for you to get your license. We'll put you through if you're the right person for that position. We have K9. So I think we have, again, don't quote me on this one. I want to say it's like 13 K9s across the state. And I think one's a bomb dog.
Okay.
But basically, we get troopers that, that's a very high motivation job. We can't have, that's someone that needs to go out and really go find work, kick tires. And they go out with their K9 and they're making traffic stops and getting those loads of drugs that you see on our news bulletins out. We have, you talked about the bomb squad. Our hazardous device technicians, to be technical. They go out and they're regular troopers, but they have that additional duty. And basically, once we keep people out on the road for a couple of years once they get out of the academy. And then once they've proven themselves as a good trooper, that's when we start pushing these extra activities onto them where they're interested in either, bomb, K9, I'm the crisis negotiator, hostage negotiator. We have mobile field force, which does like the riot gear and all that good stuff. God, I know I'm missing so much because there's SWAT is a huge one.
Yep.
You got to love the door kickers. Oh my gosh. You got the training academy, those instructors that go down and help with that. You have executive protection, which is huge right now with the governor. Mm-hmm. They deal with the first lady. We've got four troops that are helping with Matt Rule's security even.
Really? Wow.
And I mean, I literally talked with one of them today, and that's like a dream job for him. So it's one of those deals where there's just so many more things you can do than just go out and chase taillights. Now, a lot of those are additional duties. Some of them are specific duties, like the executive protection. That's all they do, executive protection. We have investigators that are specific investigators. We have tech crimes, which is a huge one now, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
All the technology you're running into in the world. Criminal, which kind of handles a little bit of everything, to be quite honest with you. Those guys are the guys that are just good at everything. They're dealing with the homicides, the assaults, all the good stuff. bad stuff, depending on how you look at it.
Right.
We have drug division specifically that's going out and trying to capture those individuals that are bringing drugs in, bringing drugs out. There's so much even to that alone, the investigation side. And all we're asking is that these guys come out of the academy, they put in at least 2 years out on the road, and then they can start putting in for these other activities.
Wow. You mentioned that you're part of the crisis negotiation team. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So I actually got into this about a year and a half ago. There's a sergeant in my area that's into it, as well as an investigator. And I always looked up to these two. So when I saw what they were doing and them talking to people and, trying to gather that information to talk to these people that might be in a crisis of whatever, I was like, that's kind of interesting. So I started looking into it a little more, ended up going through, technically it's corrections. They're 2-week-long class for that. And that's just, it's a lot of active listening skills, keeping that nice tone of voice with people. And basically we're going out when people are having the worst day of their lives, right? Mm-hmm. People don't just snap for nothing. So it's trying to get them to start getting out of that crisis mode and get back into that rational thinking. And generally what we need with that is time. So we're just buying time. And in order to do that, you have to have that active listening. You have to be able to build that rapport with people in order for them to want to continue talking to you. Because if they're talking to you, generally they're not making worse decisions than where we already are. It's definitely something that I've only really scratched the surface of. There's so much to it. The sergeant that I was talking about, he's like, I can't remember, but it's like a long time in with crisis negotiations. I think he's one of our longest running members. And listening to him do it is always amazing to me because he's able to build that rapport with people and talk about things. And I'm like, where'd you pull that out of? Like, holy smokes. And he's like, well, I saw on his Facebook page that he had tattoos, and I'm talking about his tattoos. And, now they're going on about this deep conversation about tattoos. And now that subject isn't doing anything worse. They're not contemplating suicide. They're talking about tattoos with the sergeant. So it's getting in, it's having those conversations. It's trying to build that rapport, figure out that hot topic that you can talk about to that person.
And you also serve as domestic violence specialist. Can you talk a little bit about what that entails as well?
Yes. So the patrol, obviously, every law enforcement agency, we end up dealing with domestic violence. Right. And this is something that they kind of just threw at me, and I was like, I'll take it on. And basically, I have additional training to help troopers when they do run into those domestic violence situations. We don't run into them a whole lot up in the troop area. So when we do run into it, our guys have a lot of questions. Like, oh my gosh, what can I do for this person? They've got this, they're without their home now. Where am I going to shelter them? Are there shelters in the area? So I do a lot of work with just learning about the domestic violence and, situations of it, but then turning around and building that rapport with the agencies that are more specialized. Like in the Norfolk area, there's Bright Horizons. In the Columbus area, there's Center for Survivors. And I make sure I build that relationship with those agencies just so that way when my guys are asking, where am I going to shelter this person? Or, hey, is there an advocate available? I can be like, oh yeah, you know what? You're going to want Bright Horizons. They're great. They have a great team. You're going to call this phone number. You're going to get a hold of this person. They're going to help you. They have shelters here and here. So it's building those relationships and really just helping my guys work through that problem.
And I imagine that's extremely rewarding to be able to help people in those situations too.
Yes. Domestic violence is unfortunately painful because it tends to be a reoccurring problem. So trying to teach guys how to break that cycle, and those domestic violence advocates are the way to do it. So building those relationships with those advocates is my number one goal.
One thing I'm amazed with law enforcement across the board is, it takes a certain personality, I think, to be able to do it. I know I wouldn't be able to do it. I just have the utmost respect for people who have that as a career. because of some of the stuff you have to deal with day in and day out sometimes. I guess, what are some things that maybe you do or that the State Patrol does to help the troopers handle those situations and, maybe decompress or just kind of process through that and,
Yeah, so this was actually a big push that we recently had in the patrol is mental health.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a staggering problem across law enforcement is these guys, we've had so many years where that old stigma is you're a big, strong man and you just need to suck it up.
Right.
And we've really taken a step back from that and actually looked at people and, the situations that we're putting these people in, it may not affect you, but it may affect you completely differently.
Right.
So trying to teach these guys, like, it's okay to not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big pushes that we recently had was our wellness app. So they purchased an app for us all to download. It's specific to the Nebraska State Patrol, and it's got a lot of different applications within it, such as wellness, fitness. I think there's like meal prepping in there. There's so many different things within that app though that you can use. And another thing that they touch on in that app is different people that you can call to talk about it. Because a lot of times what law enforcement needs to do is just talk out their problem, right? So what we actually have in the patrol is peer support, which helps quite a bit. So it's just regular troopers, regular sergeants, regular whatevers going out and having a little bit more education on how to help people through their tense moments. And that's another thing that I'm involved in is the peer support side of things. And basically people can call me and be like, oh my gosh, I just was at this accident and there was a 3-year-old that was hurt and it triggered me because my 3-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And we can actually sit down and talk more about that. So instead of that trooper just festering with it, now they're getting it out. We're telling them it's okay.
Yeah.
We have our EAP that will actually go out and find us counselors. So if you call and say, hey, I need to talk to someone, they'll go out and find you the right counselor or find you a counselor. And if it's not the right one, they'll find you another one and they'll find you another one until they find that right match for you, to where you can have those conversations with that counselor to work through issues that you're having.
Circling back a little bit to the training academy, you mentioned that there's a camp that'll be opening up. What does somebody do if they're interested in becoming a trooper?
I love this question. All right. We are actually opening our applications come February 29th.
Yeah.
So we are very excited for this. It's usually open for a month and a half. I want to say we're pushing the month side this time. Basically what we need you to do is just go in and put your application in. You can find that through our website. It'll direct you to the correct place to get it put in. From there, it's obviously a little bit of a process. We have certain standards that have to be met in order to hire people. We're not trying to lower our standards, even though we're obviously considerably short, but we do need to find these people. So you put in your application. There's some extra questions afterwards, which they call a PHQ or a personal history questionnaire, where we just make sure that these people have, the high moral standard that we're looking for. We send them to the training academy where they're going to go do a physical abilities test. Generally that is made up with some physical movements. I think you have to be able to shoot a gun. So they just give you an unloaded weapon. You have to pull the trigger, work the slide. You have to be able to pick up and drag I think it's a 165-pound dummy, like 10 yards. There's a 1.5 mile run in there, but the time really isn't terrible. I could probably suck it up and do it today if I had to. I might puke at the end, but I'd probably get it done. You have to be able to meet what's it called? Body mass index, so the BMI standard. I can't remember exactly what that is, but they'll throw you on the scale and based off your height, they'll chart you. If you're really close and maybe over, they'll actually get out the pinch calipers and they'll pinch you to make sure that you're under. So if you pass that portion, then you go in and you get to go do a TABE test, which is basically like, are you smarter than a ninth grader? It's not a horribly hard test. We're just making sure that people can read and write English, basically. I think that's all online now. Since COVID, we put it online. I don't think we ever took it back off because it was just easier. So you can do that portion. You turn around, and if you pass both of those, you go through our background investigation. And we actually have people assigned to do background investigations. They get the packet along with your personal history questionnaire, and they start making phone calls and calling people that know you and saying, hey, is this person a high moral standard to where would you feel comfortable if they were a trooper? You know, are they trustworthy? Are they timely? There's like a whole list of questions, but basically we're just making sure that they're trooper quality. And then we do an in-home interview with them, make sure everything's good. If they pass that, they go to what we call the ERB, the Employment Review Board.
Okay.
And that's made up of a group of different troopers and amongst different lifestyles. And basically we get that packet from the background and we go, okay, do they look like they're trooper quality? Do they have what we need to pass them along? And as long as they're high moral standard, you know, we're not seeing any red flags. We pass them along to the next step. They go do a medical, they do a psych. And then if they pass all that, they're in the academy. I know that seems like a long process, but that's why basically we're opening applications, like I said, February 29th. And that camp doesn't actually start till just after the 4th of July.
Oh, wow.
So we have some time.
Yeah.
It's kind of painful for these guys that are applying because it just seems like a long time before they can actually get to where they want to go. But it's 100% worth it. Once you get out of the academy and you're out on the road, you're like, yep, I would do that all over again if I had to.
Is there anything that we haven't covered you would like to share? And no pressure. If there's not, that's fine. But just want to give you an opportunity to.
Can't think of anything. You guys definitely helped me cover the recruiting side, which is awesome because obviously we need the troopers, and that's always a good talking point for us.
All right, then before we close out, we'll do our fun hot seat or rapid fire questions if you're ready for it. All right, we're starting off easy with cats or dogs.
Dogs.
It's an easy one. What's your go-to comfort food?
Pizza.
There you go.
Any specific type?
I actually make a pretty mean homemade pizza. So if I had the option, I'm going to have my mom make it. If I had to, I would probably get it done before I'd go somewhere else.
Yeah, nice. Well, we're welcome to come over.
Anytime.
Yeah, that's my vice. I can't say no to
I love pizza. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh my goodness. I don't have one. You know, lately I've been really into the White Horse by Chris Stapleton. I'm pretty sure I was jamming on that on the way up here.
I was just going to say, maybe there's a song you sing in your car.
Yeah, that's probably it right now. That's definitely gets cranked up every time in my patrol car. And I'm like, well, here we go. This is the jam.
What's something that people would be surprised to learn about you?
Surprised to learn about me? I read a lot. Lately I've been into a lot of leadership books and like effective communication, but when I'm bored, I actually have like Harry Potter on my phone. And if I'm just sitting in like a waiting room, I'll be like reading through Harry Potter and people are like, really? And I'm like, yeah, it's probably the 47th time, but here we are. It's something to do.
Is that your favorite series or book then?
That's definitely my go-to when I don't want to like get too into a book because obviously I've read them a few times, but just something that I can do when I'm bored and need some time filler in there.
Yeah, love it. If you could travel to any past decade, which one would you choose?
Past decade. Ooh. I don't know. Maybe like. See, and I haven't been around for too many decades. That's terrible. I wouldn't mind seeing some more of the 90s. There was definitely some like musical artists at that time that I would like to go back to and actually go to a couple of their concerts. So probably the 90s.
I feel like the styles of the 90s are coming back right now.
I could probably work with it.
Yeah. Favorite movie?
Pretty Woman.
Okay.
Any final advice you would give to someone interested in pursuing a career in law enforcement with the State Patrol?
Just do it. It's a great time to get involved in the career. Obviously, being short just means that you're going to gain more seniority quicker. But the hardest step is just putting in that application and going through, obviously, the steps to get into camp. And once you're there, it's very rewarding. It's 100% rewarding coming out and working that road and having those freedoms. And like I said, I enjoy it every day.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Well, Sergeant Kildare, thank you for being here today. Thank you for your time. It's been great to get to learn a little bit about you as well as the Nebraska State Patrol. For our listeners, if you want to check out our great career opportunities, and go to statejobs.nebraska.gov and click on the Find a State Job. While you're there, you can also find links to the Nebraska State Jobs social media pages, including Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We'd love to have you follow us to learn even more about our great careers. If you want to learn more about the State Patrol and their career opportunities, go to statepatrol.nebraska.gov and click on careers. We also encourage you to check out their social media platforms as we talked about. There's a lot of great content out there, and they're linked on the State Patrol's website. Definitely worth a follow. Also on our Nebraska Department of Administrative Services YouTube channel, you can find this podcast. So make sure to follow us there so you can be notified of future podcast episodes. Again, on behalf of our guest, Sergeant Kildare, my co-host Brian, and myself, I want to thank you for tuning in and learning more about the great careers here in Good Life.